The CDC announcing a negative COVID-19 test requirement from air passengers entering the U.S. from the People's Republic of China, saying that the step is necessary to slow the spread of COVID-19 in the United States during the surge in COVID-19 cases in China, given the lack of adequate data being reported from that country. China has responded with indifference, pretty much. Joining us to discuss, author of The Coming Collapse of China, Gordan Chang. Gordan, what's your take on what's going on here?
Well, Beijing is once again sending a surge of passengers outside of China, which they know are carrying disease. Italian authorities this week reported that in 2 planes that arrived in Milan, one from Beijing, the other from Shanghai, almost half the passengers tested positive for COVID. You know, China has just thrown open the doors and realizes that it has a surge at home. It's going to spread the misery.
Okay, there's a lot packed into that. So you've written books on China. Tell me why they're doing this, what the implications are. We already saw one pandemic as a result of what they started there. Do you think this is just round 2, or do you think we're kind of immune or immune to this? Maybe that's not the technical term, because we essentially have had herd immunity. Everybody's been exposed to this one way or another.
Well, many people have been exposed to COVID-19, but we don't know what's going on in China because Beijing is not sharing sequencing data. So yes, there's COVID-19 there. Yes, it's almost certainly mutating. There could be other diseases. And the bigger question is, what is China doing? This is murder round 2. In 2020, China lied about contagiousness. It knew that COVID-19 was highly transmissible human to human, but it affirmatively told the world it was not. And then while they were locking down their own country, in basically saying that lockdowns were effective in stopping disease, they were pressuring other countries, especially the United States, to take arrivals without restrictions. You put those 2 things together, and the only conclusion, Bob, that you can come to is that that's a deliberate taking of life without justification. They're doing essentially the same thing now. And the reason why they're doing it is because neither Presidents Trump nor Biden have imposed costs on China for deliberately spreading the disease. So Xi Jinping thinks, well, I got away with it once. Why don't I do it again?
So fast forward for me on this, Gordan. 6 months out, a year out, are we going through phase 2 with another pandemic?
We could very well. I mean, we just don't know at this stage because, as the CDC said, China's not sharing data. And my view is, well, even if it's not a big surge, the additional loss of American life is unacceptable. One more American death is unacceptable. And what China is doing and what the Biden administration is permitting China to do, because this testing requirement is almost meaningless, then really what we're going to see is more Americans die. Could be a big number, could be a small number. I don't know. But any death, to me, is just not acceptable.
Okay, I have a feeling we're going to be talking more about this in the coming weeks. Let's talk about that jet that came within, I think it was 20 feet of one of our fighter jets. A Chinese jet into our, I can't say it was our airspace, I don't recall that part, but certainly coming close enough to a U.S. Air Force aircraft that it was forced to take evasive maneuvers to avoid a collision. Okay, this happened over the South China Sea. What do you think is going on there? They're obviously provoking us. I'll fast forward to what should we be doing as a response?
Well, we should, for instance, continue these reconnaissance flights, because if we don't, it'll show China that this intimidation tactic worked. So we got to continue it, at least at the pace that we are now. And the other thing is that it was good that the Pentagon started releasing this stuff, because there have been so many dangerous Chinese intercepts of American craft. And the Pentagon, for years and years, didn't say anything about it. So, of course, the Chinese got more aggressive and provocative, and we're seeing the product of bad American policies. We should be very, very clear about this, and we should be imposing costs. You know, there's a lot of things that China needs from the U.S. We should start taking them away because they're endangering American crews.
I just wanted to ask you about that. What is it we have as leverage? What is it they need from us that we could actually affect their actions by saying, we're not going to give those to you or make them available?
Our technology, our market. Right now, China's economy looks like it's contracting. They need U.S. money. They need U.S. money for their markets. They need to be able to sell things to us. They need to take our technology. These are all sorts of things that we can deny them. And we clearly should for this and for other reasons, but we haven't. And what we are seeing is the results of failures of decades of American policy towards China. We have policies that sound good to the ear, but have actually produced disastrous results. And this is bipartisan failure. This is Republicans. This is Democrats. These liberals and conservatives have completely failed on China policy. So we're seeing a much more aggressive China as a result.
Gordan, we saw them try to lock down their country and have a zero COVID policy. I guess I felt like they realized that that doesn't work, which is why they are reopening and sending people out and letting people come back in. You're saying they're doing this so they could spread the misery, so to speak. Wouldn't that misery spread throughout the rest of their country also and have a negative impact on them?
Well, it's already going to rip through China, and the estimates are 800 million Chinese will be infected this winter. Some people say 1.1 billion. So basically what Beijing is doing is it knows that its population is already going to be afflicted, so it is trying to share this. China has the Soviet concept of comprehensive national power, and the idea is it's a metrics to figure out who's the strongest nation. China, of course, wants to be number one. I don't hold that against them. But the way to come number one is either to strengthen yourself. That's not a problem. But the other way is to weaken everybody else. And what China is doing is it is trying to weaken others because it knows it's already got a problem with COVID, which it can't deal with. So it's saying, well, we're going to weaken everybody else. So this is malicious.
Okay. We'll have to talk more. Gordan Chang, thank you so much for being with us. It's always an education. Thank you, sir.
Happy New Year, Bob, and stay safe.
Happy New Year to you also, Gordan. Always a pleasure talking. We'll be back with more.